as in a educational dimension of public service broadcasting. And I think we need to have the education ministries on board. We need to have everybody on board. What is I think, I also think at the same time, something like wiki systems can provide an opportunity for global program on climate literacy, that you have very digestible, simple, understandable information on climate change and the human-induced factors, and of course the mitigation and adaptation options that one can have. It has to be available in different languages. So this organizational aspect is very important. While this network among the convicted people, those who have already have the conviction, is very important. But we should not satisfy ourselves that that is enough. We have to go beyond of getting other people to understand this.
We will, of course, you will all have the chance to pose any questions you have to the panelists, but we need to hear from all of them first. You mentioned the problem with language, and I have used a couple of the internet translation websites. I've tried to translate documents from Arabic into English or English into Arabic, and God forbid that I should or anyone should think of using the end result, the resulted document in anything serious. But at 350.org, Bill, you have come around this problem somehow. If you would like to share with us.
Don, I'm going to just move in there for a second there. And, I think I can talk right through this system. Thank you, by the way, so much for moderating this and doing a good job. I'm in certain ways, represent the transition of media in action. 20 years ago this year, I wrote the first book about global warming, and in those days it was just a book. It sat there on the shelf, it didn't dance, it didn't do anything. Now I spend my whole life writing emails and working on websites, and we're doing it at 350.org to build the, you took the mouse down there, I think, Don, I'm going to borrow it back, because we think that time is unbelievably short, and that it's going to take very rapid political action, hopefully beginning in Copenhagen, to get something done. And so we're organizing the biggest global grassroots protest movement about all this at 350.org. 350 is the amount of carbon the scientists tell us we can safely have in the atmosphere. We're already past it. That's why the Arctic's melting. We got to get to work, So how do you organize the world? It's a big problem. Only Coca-Cola and McDonald's really do it successfully. Partly that's because language gets in the way, and language is a big problem. Our website works in 12 or 13 languages, no easy feat, but there are plenty of times when you can't use language at all. We're organizing a huge global day of action for October 24th. We think it'll be the largest day of environmental action that's ever happened on the planet. At the moment, there are already 1,500 demonstrations and events and rallies signed up in more than half the countries on Earth. The best tool for organizing all of that we've had is a 90-second wordless animated video that's now been seen, I believe the correct number is several zillion times on YouTube and elsewhere. People get it and understand it. I'm going to, if I can make it work, I'm going to show it here quickly and then just say one thing about it at the end. So let's see if we can make it work. Well, it worked a minute ago. You know how to meet it. That's a pretty complicated scientific point about carbon emissions, and it's a fairly complicated political point about what we're going to do about it to attempt to make a difference. And it's in 90 seconds with no words, and people got it. Even before this huge day of global action on the 24th of October, people were seeing that and starting to do amazing things. And sometimes it almost made you weep to see the response. We got, shortly after we released it, an email from Cameroon in West Africa, a farmer who saw that on the tiny screen on his cell phone, since, as you know, in most of the world, the cell phone is how the internet extends into the rest of the world. He saw it, he understood it, he and his neighbors got together and planted 350 trees on the edge of their village and hung a sign on them and with our logo and took a picture and sent it to us. That was useful. It was on the front page. We got it on the front page of the African papers the next day through old media, new media. We spread it around. It was also moving because, as all of you know, nobody in the Cameroon has done anything to contribute to climate change. And yet, we now live in a world where it's quite possible for them to figure out how to play a significant role in solving this problem. We need to change the conversation. That's what 350.org is about. And we couldn't have even begun to clear our throats to get that message across 5 or 10 years ago. Now with these tools we can. We will use them to organize things happening on the ground on October 24th, a great panoply of efforts from high in the Himalayas to well underwater on the Great Barrier Reef. Well, there'll be 350 scuba divers. There will be giant, in Delhi, thousands of people forming, we think, a giant 3, and in London a giant 5, and in Copenhagen a giant 0, and the old media will be forced to take those images and mash them together into a... And then we'll take all the images that people upload in the course of a day, and we'll have a huge screen at the UN, and we will be showing them, and we'll be showing them in the days before Copenhagen, so that every delegate to that conference knows what people in their place think about what we should be doing with the science. It's no guarantee, obviously, that it or anything else is going to work, but it is guaranteed that we wouldn't have had a chance 10 years ago up against the incredible amounts of money that the fossil fuel industry and others are able to bring to bear. This represents a wild card. It's an opportunity to square that balance a little bit. It's very exciting. The internet was built for things like this, not for playing poker in your underwear late at night, not for any of that. It was built so you could take the most important number in the world and spread it around the world in a matter of months and maybe have it make the kind of difference that it needs to make.
Thank you very much. Florence, let me ask you, since we're talking about what you put up on the internet, what you use the new media for, what about the content? How do you get good content on to this media?
I'm tempted to disagree about the poker thing. Because not far from that, poker basically got me on the internet. It was not really poker, it was... I'm a fan of video games, and that's something which is very much pushed right now. What we call serious games is a good way, and you are not very far from a serious game somehow, is what brings some people to join and to look at the internet and to look at what is going on. And well, I was trained as an engineer in agricultural sciences, so I was not really working on global warming, but I was at that time dealing with plant improvement, and bees. And it was a topic which was mentioned quite a lot in the early 2000. And what happened is I was playing on a video game called Alpha Centauri, and this turns around the theory of Gaia. And in France, that's a theory that is absolutely not known. So I went on the internet and I started a discussion with some people I never met and will never meet. It was an English-speaking Canadian activist